Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm bringing you another one of the ways to use the Dragonfly Garden stamp set and coordinating punch, which you can see here, which comes in a fabulous bundle as part of the Dandy Garden suite. If you want to know more about the whole suite and all the different projects I've shared, just pop along to the description bar below this video and you'll find a link to the YouTube video. Or search Sweet Inspiration Flutter by Heidi and that should come up, or pop along to if you're on my blog, you'll find a link to the video as well. But this one is one of my fancy folds, so Dragonfly Garden is the stamp set I'm using, and I thought I'd make a pretty triple cube. Now lots of people have done versions of this, but what I've done here is just added a little bit of extra by adding some flying dragonflies, as you can see. I think when you've got things that fly, it's great to show them off. And what I like about this particular fancy fold is the fact that it folds flat, as you can see, standard C6 envelope. So it folds flat for posting, but it's also quite easy for the recipient to work out how to stand it up as well. So that's what we're going to be making. And this one is in Seaside Spray and Misty Moonlight. Obviously Seaside Spray is departing, so I've picked another one of the colours that's in the suite, and that's Calypso Coral, and the paper I've used here is for those dragonflies. Has a couple of Calypso Coral ones on as well, which easily punch out. And I've paired it with some Petal Pink as well, just a nice soft colour. And then the other thing I want to just share is this is what I do when I'm creating my fancy folds. I work them out with scrap cardstock, and once I'm happy with it, I write the measurements on, so that when I want to come back and do a fancy fold, I can just grab that out of my folder and I've got my fancy fold measurements all to hand. So, talking of which, let's get started. So you're going to need a couple of sheets of base colour A4, because you need half portrait and half landscape. So although it only uses a sheet, 2 sheets will give you the bases, and then some DSP, a piece of 6x6 and some Whisper White as well, and some contrast layers. So the first thing you're going to do is create that centre panel. So I've got a piece that is 21 by 14 centimetres, and I've scored at 5, 10, 15 and 20 to give us our base. Our next piece for the left hand side is 29 by 5 centimetres. I have done the measurements in inches, so I'll pop those on my blog, but this one is 8 1/4 by 5 1/2. Score every 2 inches, and this is 11 1/2 by 2, and you're going to score this at 9, 14, 23 and 28. So that is 3 1/2, 5 1/2, 9 and 11. And then our second piece, 21 by 5 centimetres, 8 1/4 by 2 inches. And again, this is just a simple every 5 centimetres. So 5, 10, 15 and 20, 2, 4, 6 and 8. So that's our cardstock. We then need to cut some DSP. So I want some DSP for a couple of places on our card. So I want some to go on the inside of these 2 squares here, as you can see, and at the top here. So I'm going to use a couple of pieces. I'm going to use this one here. So we just want to cut it at 4 1/2 centimetres. And that'll be by another one at 4 1/2. And then this one for the right will need to be at 4 1/2 by, oh, I can't spot it. Why is it 4 1/2 by 8 1/2, 8 1/2 centimetres. Okay. So that's 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. So those are our 2 panels for the top. Then we want a couple of panels for the inside. So I thought it'd be rather fun to use some of our new DSP. And so we want to the same. So again, cut it at 4.5, and then we want to cut at 8.5, and another one at 4.5. Okay. So these are going to be for the panels on the side. So the other thing we want to do is obviously create our flying dragonflies. So you're going to need a strip of acetate. I've just taken a 1 centimetre strip of acetate there. And you want to punch out 2 of your dragonflies. Now, if you want to get the most out of your paper, then just roughly cut around them, pop them onto a post-it note, and then feed them into your punch before punching out. Then pop the same again. Again, just so you want a couple of these. Now, obviously, if you haven't got the paper, you can just stamp and colour your own, and that's the beauty of this lovely punch set, is that it gives you those options. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is actually stamp and punch one of my dragonflies. I keep calling them butterflies, apologies, as well. Oh, other things that you're going to need. You're going to need a panel. This is 4.5 by 13.5 of wisp of basic white, and then the same as the DSP, 4.5 by 8.5, and as well, and 4.5 by 4.5. And then these ones are just a fraction bigger, so these are just 2 millimeters bigger, so 8.7 by 4.7, 2 of, and 4 of the 4.7 by 4.7. So there we go. Lots of bits and pieces of cardstock. Okay, so let's get cracking. So I'm just going to pop my dragonfly here, and all we want to do is just stamp it in some memento. So ink it up really well and just pop that on there. And we want a second one as well. And those are going to provide a kind of a sandwich for our DSP ones, to make sure that we conceal that window sheet between the two, and it gives it a bit of structure as well. So, okay. So, pop those to the side. Grab your bone folder. And what we want to do now is start creating our towers. With a fancy fold, particularly one like this that's got lots of folds in it, you really do want to make sure that you've creased it well. And I also like to just trim off the corners here, just to help with our alignment. Do the same with our others. Just reinforce those. Like so. And the same again. And what we can do is, by having the DSP on the inside, we can cover up that inner panel that we're joining piece as well. But we can also just hide those at the back so that you don't actually see those. So what I'm going to do is add my DSP, my inner DSP, as we go along. So add some Tombow. To the inside here. And then add a little on the flap and pop that to the back of it. And that way, as I say, you won't see that then. Put that to one side to dry. Do the same again here. So again, work out which way your cube is. Probably should have shown it that way. So this is where our join is going to be at the back. So we want our DSP on this inner panel here. again, because that piece is going to be stuck to the reverse, so you won't see that join at all then. It's actually an improvement on my original sample. So again, just give it a bit of a burnish. Like so. So we've got our cube. So these are really, you know, very straightforward cards to make. Just a little bit of practice, like so. And then finally, we're going to tuck that flap on the inside. Like so. And just give it a good burnish until it's nice and flat. So this is going to be our orientation. So we're going to have that join on the back. So that's where we want it to make sure it folds nice and flat. So unusually, I'm actually going to start adding some of these decorations beforehand, and I've just realised that I have neglected to add my my pieces of window sheet. So what I should have done on this one is actually popped my window sheet in behind this little cube. So I'm going to hope that because I've used a bit of Tombow, I can grab a pin hopefully, or grab a pokey tool. I'm just going to just lift that very slightly away, and that's just enough to pop the edge of my window sheet in. Don't need very much on this, and I'm going to use a bit of Stampin' Seal Plus just on the edge there, so I can pop that in and just adhere that down. And then with the Stampin' Seal, if you've got any, you can just easily take that little bit away. So that's going to be my one that's going to come across here. So you're not going to want it any longer than that. So I'm just going to trim that away, just literally a couple of inches on that. So that's going to be my one. And the other one's going to come behind the panel at the top here. So I'm going to add some glue to that now so I don't forget. And I'm just going to pop that like so. So we've got this piece here to go on the bottom. And in fact, I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. Or not, as the case may be. I'm going to add a little bit of glue. And I'm going to layer that up onto the front of my card, like so. I'm then going to add my other panel to the other side. So as I say, unusually I'm kind of constructing it before I add my panels. I just found that that was that bit easier. So the only thing to remember this one is to make sure you just pop that piece of window sheet behind or in the middle of that cube. And there we've got our cube coming along together. So now we can start creating our other layers. So what we want to do is with this one is just have our dragonfly in the middle there. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of my red tape to hand. So I'm just going to pop a little bit on the back of my dragonfly, and I'm going to trim my acetate afterwards. So, and then I can just come in and just trim around that, like so. In fact, I can even just cut it away like so. Add another little bit to the centre. And we can add one immediately behind to give our double wings and a bit of structure. So that one fits very nicely on the inside there, like so. We do the same with this one up here. Again, a couple of pieces of tape, probably grab that while we're here. One on this one. And if you ever have difficulty getting that backing tape off, just take the edge of your pokey tool, or you take your pick. And again, I'm just going to pop that in the middle there. And again, with this card, because it folds in both ways, it's really easy to just fold those pieces out to get our second ones in place. And I say, I just find it easier to add the adhesive to the back afterwards, and that just gives it a really good strong bond, so it sits nicely. And I say, if you wanted to, you could obviously colour those as well. Again, just snip that out of the way, and any other little bits you can just trim away. So you can see our card starting to take shape. So now what we want to do is do our stamping for our back panels. And I'm going to run out of time on this, I suspect. So let's add our panels to the front here. So this will be a two-parter. There'll be a second bit to go with this. And you can see we're starting to get our construction going. Just folding those down. So, as you can see, we're starting to get those panels in there. One more for the front corner. I'm going to say, because this folds flat, you don't have to worry too much about it. There we go. Pop that on there. Complete with post-it note, little punched out dragonfly. So all that remains is for us to create our stamped panel for the front and the back. So I'm going to now stamp this in a bit of a memento on the back. I just like a little bit on either side, leaving plenty of space for you to write your sentiment, like so. And then for the front one, we're going to use our blending brushes as well. So I'm going to use my yellow and orange and my So Saffron and Calypso Coral as well. And all I need to do is just come in with a little bit. I'm going to use a little Calypso coral just down towards the bottom of that, and then it's almost like sort of sunshine. And the reason I'm blending my background first is because just occasionally, by the time you've added a bit of ink, you end up with a little bit of smudging if you're not careful. So hence I'm just adding that in. And I need an extra piece, there we go, of my, just going to do the same again. Just a bit of So Saffron. You see these brushes blend so beautifully. There we go. Pop that together, like so. So now what we want to do is stamp our floral image. Again, Memento, just ink that up well. Large stamp, so ink pad to stamp. There we go. And then do the same again. What I'm actually going to do is stamp these in Calypso Coral. So just a couple of times. So we can now start to add those panels on as well. Add a bit of adhesive to the back there. Do the same on our taller panel. You see, just by having that really narrow border, it just brings that image to life a little bit. I've managed to stick my mucky thumb on that, so I'm going to very quickly grab a couple of embellishments. So what should we have on there? What have I got to hand? I think I've got, there we go. Yeah, cut the pearls. Actually might need a slightly larger one, there we go. Those can almost be like water droplets, can't they? Add it on. There we go. Then on the reverse, we're just going to pop our last little bit, which is our sentiment panel. And you pop that. Now, again, you could add extra layers to this if you wanted to. But there we have our card. Here we go, that's fine. And I'd cut some pieces here which you could add onto there if you wanted to. But to be honest with you, I don't think it needs it on this one. So there we have our triple cube pop-up card, and using the lovely Dragonfly Garden Suite and some super flying dragonflies. Thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon. If you'd like to purchase any of the items you've seen today, do pop along to my Stampin' Up shop. Follow the links below this video for individual items, or go to heidismith.stampinup.net and look for where it says shop. Thanks for watching. Bye.